Hey y'all, I'm Josiah True, and welcome to Eats and Digs, channel all about food and gardening. On today's episode, I'm going to give you a full garden tour. I'm going to harvest some of my spring crops that I've had planted here in the raised beds and replace those with the seedlings that I have for the summer 2020 gardening season. Also, I'm going to show you how I start most of my plants from seed indoors under grow lights and the process it takes to get them ready to plant here out in the garden beds. Let's do it. Here's my little greenhouse that I start my seedlings in. And down here is a micro greenhouse for seed starting. I usually use these little pods and I put a seed in there. Once it sprouts and you got a little bit of a root coming out on the bottom, then I move them up into these cups. Now if it's a bigger seed like a squash or a cucumber or something, I go ahead and start them in these pots or in these cups with seed starting mix. Now once they've gotten this big, then I start moving them outside, which this can take a couple weeks, even a month or so for them to get this large. Once they're this large, I'll start moving them outside onto the porch for a couple hours each day, and that's called hardening off. Then I'll bring them back in and continue having them grow under the grow lights. Once they've been outside for 4 or 5 days for a couple hours each day, I will move them out permanently outside, but more in a shady area, nothing that's getting full direct sun all day. Now I'll take you outside to my front porch where I have the rest of my seedlings that have been hardening off for quite a while. These are going to be going outside any day now for longer periods of time. Alright, here we are in the front area of my garden. I've got a lot of little pots and 7-gallon grow bags, which I have a lot more to fill up. I'm just getting started. And here are the seedlings that have been hardened off for a while. So after they're in the little greenhouse and I move them back and forth in and out for a few days, then they're ready to come out and be, you can see this is kind of a shady area. It gets some day sunlight, a few hours, but not full sun every day. And the plants love that. This is when they get used to being out here for a few weeks. These have actually been out here for like a month, maybe a couple of them. Some of them have been here for like 2 months, so they're more than ready to be planted out in the garden. Here's a few more. Let's go back down here and I'll show you what all I have growing in these pots. So starting off here at the end, these two are little dwarf tomatoes. One is a micro tom and one is a totem. They both stay very small but produce tons of little tiny cherry tomatoes. As you can see, already got some little tiny tomatoes starting to form. I'm really excited about that. Shouldn't be too much longer before we have fresh little cherry tomatoes. Then coming down next to it we have a black pearl pepper. This is really cool. The pods are a little round and solid black, and I believe they turn red eventually. This is a Caribbean red habanero that I let overwinter, and I babied it over the winter in my garage. And then this summer I brought it back outside and I clipped it off a lot to let it regrow back. And it has regrown back and it's starting to flower a whole lot now. So that's pretty cool. These two are mystery peppers. That's not the actual name. It's just I put the seeds in and forgot to label them and forgot, so I don't know what they are until the pods start coming out, which is actually kind of fun to have a few of those. And this one back here is also a mystery. I'm not sure what it is. This one is a Chinese 5-color. The peppers are 5 different colors, hence the name. And you can still eat them. They're good to eat, but it's more of an ornamental. And one more mystery. Let's see, this one is a yellow habanero. Pretty cool. This is a fish pepper, which has some variegated leaves. It doesn't have too much variegation, but as it gets big, it'll have really cool foliage. This one is a Sugar Rush Peach, which is a really tasty variety. It's also pretty hot, and I haven't grown it before, but people say it produces tons of pods, so really excited about this one. And this is a Brazilian starfish. This has little red pods that are kind of shaped like a star, and it's more of a sweet pepper. So here we have some tomatoes in cages, and these 4 are also mystery tomatoes. I'm not sure what they are. I have a good idea. I know the seeds that I planted. I just got the cups mixed up, so that'll be fun. We'll see what it is. And in the back, those flowers is a monster hydrangea plant that is taking over the world. And down here, this is a little burgundy okra plant. Put one here, and I got a couple back there. Just wanted to try to fill the space in a little bit. Moving up to the patio. A lot of pots up here. First off, we have Thai basil, one of my favorite varieties of basil. Have purple tomatillos, which a tip for you is these tomatillos, you need 2 plants because they have to pollinate each other or else you won't get fruit. So you have to plant 2 tomatillo plants next to each other or else you're not going to get fruit. Lime basil, really cool basil variety, actually really tastes like lime. Spicy globe basil. This is a green cherry tomato, so they stay green. This one is a ground cherry or a pineapple tomatillo. And this is a different variety, so you only need 1 plant. You don't need multiple plants to pollinate each other for this. And this one is, they call them ground cherries. They're little tiny, like cherry tomato-like tomatillos, and they're very sweet. In these we have all my seedlings that are about to go into the raised bed garden in the back, and pretty much all peppers of all different varieties, from sweet peppers to fairly hot peppers like habanero to really hot peppers like scorpion and ghost. A few more tomato seedlings. And a holy basil. And on this side we have a nasturtium that's starting to get really big. Just put out its first flower. Some more seedlings that are a little bit behind the others. Got some okra, tomatoes, some peppers. And this one's cool. It's a Malabar spinach, but it's actually not really a spinach, but they call it Malabar spinach. It's a vining plant, loves the heat. It's a really cool plant. Some more peppers. some oregano and thyme that I've had since last year, and it's looking a little gnarly, but it's starting to come back. Here we have 2 pepper plants that I let grow together because they were just doing so well. When I transplanted them, I had these 2 in a cup and they were really doing well, so I just decided to let them stay together, and they are thriving. But yet another one that I'm not sure what they are. So we're gonna have a lot of mysteries, which will be fun if you stay tuned to more episodes and see later on in the season what those actually are. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And one more mystery. Down here we have a bunch of assorted basil. I just threw a bunch of seeds in of all different kinds. Let them do their thing. So that's it for the front. We'll take you around to the side and the back now. Coming up to the side, in years past this has just been mulched over, so I decided, well, what the heck, let's put some soil in here and try some stuff out. It's sunny only a few hours of the day. That's one reason why I hadn't done anything over here, because I wasn't sure if anything would grow that well. But I said, hey, let's just try it. I know greens and certain things like shady areas some, so mostly what I did is lettuce and arugula here, which it's doing quite well actually. It's starting to get hot, and so the arugula is bolting, so I'm just gonna pull that out. But the lettuces are doing really good. And then I have some turnips, which they're not doing great, but starting to bulb up a little bit. We'll see if it doesn't get too hot for them and we actually get some bulbs on them. Here we have a couple different kinds of peas, some sugar snap peas, and they're doing really well. We're actually starting to get some little pods on them. A few up here, one more in the back over here. Lots of flowers. They're already outgrowing their little trellis I made, but they should be fine. Oh, we got next some spinach. It's doing all right. Got 1 tomato. I put the subarctic tomato because it's a cold hardy variety, so I thought maybe it might do okay in the shade, not get as hot during the day. So we'll see how it goes. This is just kind of a bed for experiment to see what I can get to grow here, so I'm not too worried if a lot of things don't work out. Here we have some dill. It's doing all right. Have some radishes, and these are doing pretty well actually. I think I'm gonna pull some of these out. Yeah, pretty nice. This one looks pretty big. Yeah, nice radish. Oh wow, that's a nice one too. Cool. Moving on, got some other lettuce and got some kale. This is a frizzy kale, so it's a new variety that I haven't had before. The leaves are they almost look like they've been eaten by bugs, but that's just how it grows. Pretty fun. Have a basil plant that I transplanted. I've had this for over a year. I had it inside and just decided to throw it in the ground. Had some Mizuna mustard that this did get eaten by bugs, so that's out. And here we got some collards. They're doing all right. A little bit of bug damage, but not too bad. And here we have some beets. Here, they're doing okay. And then we have some, I think this is blue kale, dazzling blue kale, I believe. And it's doing really well. Starting to take off. And we have some Swiss chard down on the end. Some of them are doing better than others. Got one that's taken off there in the back, that yellow one. It's looking really good. Well, we got a few others that are doing okay. And that's all we got for the side garden bed. Now moving on to the raised beds in the back. Coming along here, I have this island area. It's mostly flowers for the bees and pollinators. That just helps everything in the garden. Love to bring the pollinators in. But we got a nasturtium down here. Have some onion chives that are starting to flower. But I just put a few new ones down below, because these are from last year and they'll grow all winter. And I actually just took these from little cuttings from the grocery store. You can just get those little onion chives from the grocery store that still have the roots on them. Just chop that bottom off, put them in the ground, and literally within like a few days they're gonna start growing like this. It's pretty cool. Some lavender. It's starting to look really pretty. Another nasturtium. And back here we got some squash. I believe this is a zucchini, a green zucchini actually. And then a couple different kinds of cucumbers. Those are going to be really cool. They're going to grow up over this cattle panel trellis here into the bed, where I have more cucumbers right here on the end. And they're going to grow up and hopefully fill this trellis completely up. That'll be really awesome if that happens. I'm hoping it will. It's the first time that I've had the cattle panels in. This last year when I had the cucumbers, I just had them on a little makeshift trellis and they grew all over the yard, all over the beds. They just took over everything. So I'm hoping the cattle panel trellis will kind of tame them, make them look really cool, and we'll have more room for our other stuff. Here we have tomato plant. This is a Dr. Witchy's yellow. It's a big yellow tomato. This one over here is a Paul Robeson. This one here is a pineapple tomato. This one I'm really excited about. It's yellow and red, kind of striped. Should look really cool. Then growing up all over is red Russian kale, and it's just taken over. It's been here since last fall. Grew all last fall, made it through the winter, came back in the spring, and has just exploded. And I harvest off this like almost every day or every other day, and it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. Starting to flower, so I pull these little flowering buds off, and that helps them to just keep putting out more leaves. And they've been doing that for like the last month or two, so as long as you keep those buds pulled off, they'll keep putting out leaves. Just awesome. Endless food. Got a little onion chive down here. I like to put onion chives around the garden because it helps deter some of the pests. So on this side have a sun globe tomato. Then right behind it have a couple different varieties of kale. I think this one is another blue kale. This one is a dinosaur kale or lacinato kale. This one does really well in the heat. And then this little guy down here is a scarlet kale, which it'll turn completely purple. And in the past, I planted these before. I'll show you in my other bed. They start off really slow, but then they pick up and they look really cool. This is a collard. It's doing pretty good. These are some little volunteer tomato plants. I think some kind of cherry tomato that I had in this bed last year. They volunteered, so I'm just letting them come up and do their thing, see if they make it. Here I have another Paul Robeson. Couple more kales, another dinosaur kale in the back, and another Dr. Witchy's tomato, yellow tomato. Then here's a bunch of lettuce that I'm going to harvest, the majority of it, get it out of here, make room for these tomatoes. It's been in here since, I think last fall actually as well, and I've been harvesting off the bottom. You can see down here, I've been harvesting, and it keeps growing up and growing big, growing more leaves, but it's starting to get hot and I think it might bolt soon, so I'm gonna pull that out. Some Swiss chard back in there, a couple more kale plants, and this is one of my favorite plants, really, really cool. It's called red vein sorrel, and it's kind of citrusy flavored, but the leaves look really cool, and it's a perennial, so it'll stay year after year. It'll die back some in the winter, but it'll come right back. And I really love that in salads especially. Then if we come around, I missed these guys. These are some spinach plants that are doing quite well. But I think they'll probably start to bolt soon. Looks like, yep, looks like they're starting to bolt. Which bolting just means they're starting to put out flowers, so I'm gonna take these out as well. Moving on. In the middle, I have a honeysuckle that's just taken over this area. I want to put a few more things down here, just haven't gotten to it yet. I put a few squash in here. I may put a few more squash or okra or something in there. Not sure yet. Here I have a yellow zucchini, which I'm actually starting to get a little zucchini down there, which is really cool. This is a cucumber that's starting to climb up this trellis here. And a couple more zucchini plants. I think these are yellow zucchini as well. Yeah, it looks like a couple little guys coming in down there. And on this side, have more cucumbers to climb up the trellis on this side. Here, this one's looking really good. And this little guy that looks kind of like a cucumber is called a cucamelon. And they're little tiny, almost look like little tiny watermelons or something. I've never grown it before, but I've seen them in pictures and on other people's YouTube videos. They just look really, really cool. So I'm excited to grow this. I can't wait to see if I get some little cucamelons. And there you see a wasp. This is actually interesting. These wasps, they look pretty dangerous or whatever, but they actually eat a lot of bad bugs. Bad as in bad for your plants. So like little aphids and stuff like that, those guys will eat them. So just leave them alone. They're not going to hurt you if you see them in your garden. This monster is another red Russian kale. It's been in here since the fall of last year. And it actually had kind of cut it back a little bit, and it came back like twice as big. See, it actually like split and grew another trunk. So it's like 2 trunks down there. So I think I'm gonna leave that in just because it's been awesome. And it's actually not tried to flower yet, which is cool. Then we have some radishes down here. And we got some giant daikon radishes, which, look at this monster. That's like a softball. Here in just a few minutes, I'm gonna pull that out. We're gonna see how big it is. Some more radishes growing through here. Then just tons of different types of lettuce. Got purple varieties, multiple purple varieties, multiple green varieties, some varieties that are kind of green and purplish. I'm not exactly sure what they all are. I just threw in like a mix of all these seeds just to see what would grow if I let them grow really close together, and they've done really, really well, better than I expected. I know this is romaine. Most of this I'm going to be pulling out tonight in the harvest. And this will be where all those seedlings go, all the peppers, or at least a lot of them. Here I've already started to put a few peppers in. Pulled some lettuce out already. I have ahi mango, Brazilian starfish, fish pepper, which this one's getting a lot more variegation on the leaves, as you can see. It's looking really, really cool. And ahi mango. Or no, sorry, ahi lemon. The first one was ahi mango. And getting a couple little aphids on there. If I see those, I just pull them off, kill them. These two, or actually three beauties right here, is the scarlet kale once it gets to a bigger size. You can see just how cool these leaves are. Super pigmented purple. It's really, really nutritious. It's a little bit more, I guess, like a rough texture than some of the other kales, but still really great in salads, stir fries. Just looks really, really pretty. And it's starting to bolt a little bit. Just pull that off. This side we got some turnips, which I've already pulled quite a few turnips out. They look really good. I'm going to pull some more of those. And then beets, which they're not looking quite as good, but some of them are starting to form little beets down here. It's a little volunteer tomato. I'm not sure what it is, but something that I grew last year, and it's doing very well actually for being a little volunteer. So I'm going to keep it in. And then we got cilantro, which it is starting to bolt, so I'm going to pull that out as well. That's the majority of the produce that I have growing this 2020 summer season. I'm going to pull a bunch of this out now, do a nice harvest, and show you what all we got. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, at least what I've been waiting for. I'm gonna pull this huge daikon radish, see how big it is. It's pretty big, about a softball size. Cool. All right, we'll finish the harvest. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Garden Tour and Harvest. If you did, hit that subscribe button for our future up-and-coming episodes. I'm Josiah True with Eats and Digs. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.